There's a 5-minute call on behalf of the Green Party. David Clendon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Speaker. And some years ago, Sir Geoffrey Palmer claimed or made the comment that this legislature, this parliament, contains the fastest lawmakers in the West. And unfortunately, the experience of the last 24 hours or so demonstrates that I think we can still lay claim to that rather dubious distinction. We have, in about 21 hours by my count, since this bill landed on the table, we've had about eight and a half hours of debate on a very substantive matter that is not a trivial piece of legislation. We agree on occasion there is need for haste. There are occasions where urgency is necessary and important. We do not accept that this is a case of such compelling urgency that in a 10 or 11 month process, by the Minister's admission, at least 10 or 11 months of work have gone into this. Could we not squeeze out 1 week where we could invite members of the public, the community voluntary sector, the legal fraternity, the judiciary to come and have an opinion about this bill? Even in the course of yesterday evening, we were able, the opposition parties were able to add value, to make this a better bill on the basis of very little information, very little time for analysis. And that indicates how much better this bill could have been had even a very truncated select committee process been allowed. I particularly feel for the community voluntary sector because the success or failure of rehabilitating, reintegrating the people who do return to New Zealand, once they've been registered, supervised, monitored, etc. The actual work, a lot of the hard work of bringing those people back into our communities will be done by people in the community voluntary sector, some of whom are partially government funded, but who to a large extent rely on voluntary time, people who give up their time, their energy, their experience to try and bring people back into the fold. And I think we should acknowledge that. And I think it's somewhat disrespectful of this Parliament not to have included that community in the preparation of this policy that they will have a considerable part in implementing. I must take a moment to acknowledge PARS, the Auckland-based group, formerly Prisoner Aid Rehabilitation Service. Now I think they've rebranded as People at Risk Services. For at least since the beginning of this year, they have been sending people to the airport to meet offenders who have been deported, to meet deportees and to endeavour to assist them. Two middle-aged women in the prime of life, would go out to the airport, or else there's one senior kaumatua who would go alone to the airport, not really knowing what they were dealing with, knowing that they were meeting deportees who may have been confused, angry, who may have major alcohol and substance problems. Out of their courage is extraordinary to actually put themselves personally at risk in order to go to the airport, meet these people and bring them back, endeavour to get them at least a roof for the night, some link them into whatever social services were available. They have been ignored, and I think that's very, very unfortunate, disrespectful of those people. So I won't dwell on the fact that the Minister sort of indicated she's been carrying the burden alone for this year. Actually, we put our hands up to be part of that. My colleague Matiria Ture made comment on that. I won't dwell on it. Sir, the Greens are not opposing this bill. We are absolutely opposing the process. We are not opposing the bill because we acknowledge there is a problem. Listen carefully, we are not opposing this bill, nor are we supporting it. We are abstaining. For the simple reason we are voting. We are not opposing this bill because we understand there is a problem. We agree with the principle of aligning the treatment of returning offenders with what happens to people domestically. We understand the information sharing issues. We think parole is a good thing. There is research put out earlier this year by Anne Opie indicating that longer periods on parole is an indicator of less reoffending, and that's a good thing. So we have no problem with the principles of this bill. We could have supported it had it been a better bill and had we had a better process, and it's unfortunate we haven't seen that. We've heard reassurances that the support mechanisms will be put in place to ensure these people who are returned have some sort of a fighting chance of keeping out of trouble, keeping out of the justice system, of not reoffending. We'll be looking to see that. We'll be looking hard to ensure that the organisations, the both government and non-government organisations who actually do that work are being properly resourced, properly funded, because without that, this legislation will have been a waste of time. It's not sufficient to supervise, monitor. We need support mechanisms. We'll be looking to see they are in place. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Marama Fox.
Thank you.